Everyone who's in business is in business for a reason. Now, that reason is different for different people. Some people are in business because they love what they do and they want to create an amazing business that represents that. Other people, it's because they want freedom. They want to be able to step back and not have to be there every single day. Although sometimes when you do open a business, you find yourself stuck there every single day. For others, it's financial reasons. They look at the work they're doing for someone else and they go, well, I could do this for myself and I could do this for my family. And there is a complete myriad of reasons. Some people just love solving problems, okay? But all business falls back to the idea of solving problems. But too often we start to think, what do we want out of this? And a great example is people who want to make money. If they focus on making money, they're not going to make money. The issue here being that they're focused on the thing that they want and not the thing that the other people who are going to give them money want, okay? So in that scenario, we want to focus on the value that we're giving people rather than on the money or the finance. Okay, I hope you can see where I'm going with this one. And if we go back another step further, it's what sort of problems are we solving? Because as an allied health business owner, we have to consistently think about, well, what problems are we solving and how can we solve those best to get what we need? Okay, so if we look at it like this, so we have problems. Okay, now for some businesses, the problem that they have is they need more clients. And other businesses, the problem they have is that they need more team. And we can go through a few more of these, but when we look at it like this and we go, all right, more clients, more team. What can we be doing? So how can we be solving this problem? How can we get more clients when this is our problem? Okay, so rather than thinking about more clients being the problem, think about the problem that our clients or our ideal clients have, and that's how we get more clients. So putting ourselves in their shoes. So if you want to get more clients, what we should be thinking about here is, what's our clients' problems? Terrible writing, I know. So what are their problems? And actually putting ourselves in their shoes and understanding, look, if I'm a physiotherapist, one of the problems is going to be pain. Okay, but what does the pain not allow them to do? So how is that impacting their life? Oops. Because if we can start to understand how this is impacting someone's life, we can talk to them through this. Because they may have pain and it may be showing up as pain, but the issue that they're seeing in their life is that they can't play with the kids. Maybe they can't work. So when we start to look into this further and we start to break this down and go, well, if I'm in their shoes, how is this showing up? What are the issues that are coming because of this? All right, now pain's a pretty simple one because most people know when they're in pain, okay? But if we move into something else that may be a result of being too weak or something isn't quite working, the pain may actually be a result of another issue that's happening within their body. Okay, so they may have pain and that may be the presenting issue, but what else is going on within their body that's contributing to this pain that they're not aware of? Okay, so we can start to think further and further. But what we really want to look at here is we have a problem. So this is the problem that we perceive this person has. But then we also have a perceived problem. So if we look at the problem here, and then perceived problem. Now the problem, and I'm going to use some physio, I'm a physio, we're going to use some physio examples here. Let's say the problem, we have someone who has shoulder pain. And this person, when they're lifting things above their head, they're getting pain in the front of their shoulder. Now, the problem, I believe, for most people in this scenario, is going to be that they actually have deconditioning of the muscles that support the shoulder, so the rotator cuff and the other musculature that supports it. There's probably been a period of misuse of deconditioning, so not enough use. So we'll just go deconditioning. And not using, so not enough strength, we'll say. And this is probably creating its own feedback loop where because they're getting pain from the deconditioning, it's leading back into more loss of strength, more deconditioning. So you have pain, and this is deconditioning, and it's just going round and round in circles like that. So when I perceive this problem here, I can see that this is the issue most likely that's going on. Now, if I want more clients, and I'm putting myself in their shoes, I'm doing the right things, but this isn't really putting yourself or myself in their shoes. So I hope you can see what's happening here. Whilst this may be the problem, this is not the problem that someone else is perceiving, okay? Let's look at the perceived problem. Actually, before we go into perceived problem, let's make this really obvious, okay? I'm not a car person. I don't know much about cars at all. I don't know if you do, right? But if I'm driving my car and I'm driving along and I hear this ticking sound coming from the engine, and I keep driving, I keep hearing this ticking sound, it's getting louder. What is the problem and what is the perceived problem? Now, because I know nothing about cars, so I don't have this curse of knowledge that I do here, because I know nothing about cars, as I'm driving along, the problem to me, or the perceived problem, is it's ticking. That's the issue. And what is my perceived solution for this problem? Well, it's pretty obvious. I just want the ticking to stop. So perceived problem, car is ticking. Perceived solution, stop the ticking. Okay, I have no idea what could be causing that. But you may know, or a mechanic, if they were in that same situation, may go, oh, that ticking is some kind of fan or some kind of belt. And let's call it a fan in the car. I don't know enough to actually say it. Let's call it car fan. And the solution would be to replace car fan in this example. But for me, that's not my solution that I'm looking for because I don't know that that's the problem. So I hope that's starting to make sense now. Now the perceived problem, let's pull it back to the physio example here, is probably pain. Okay, so it hurts when they do something. So they're getting pain in their shoulder when they're doing a particular activity. It's going to be very specific. But what else is the perceived problem? The perceived problem may be not being able to do things or avoiding things. Okay, these are common perceived problems. Avoiding activities. So as we're going through this process now, we're starting to understand that if we want to get more clients in our business and help more people, and we know we can help these people, and we just like, how can we get these people in? Because I know this person with this problem, I'm going to be able to make a real difference in their life. We need to understand their problems. We need to understand what we believe the problem to be, and we need to understand what they believe the problem to be. Because we need to speak to people and meet people where they are. Okay? Now, if we take this one over to more team now. Now, this is a big one at the moment. A lot of people are going, well, I need more team members. There's not enough team members out there. I think I looked the other day, there was 1,800 speechy jobs up for grabs in Australia on Seek. Crazy, crazy. But let's take this same thought process here. All right? We're in business to solve problems. We're not in business for ourselves. There is going to be some reason that we're in business for ourselves, but in order for us to succeed in business, we need to be solving problems, not just coming up with ideas. So if we're looking at getting more team members, rather than thinking about us and what we need, let's think about them and their problems. So again, let's write the same question. What are their problems? Because why would they leave where they are now if they're completely happy, if everything is going really well? Because in order to get more team members, realistically, at any point during the year, other than when the new grads come out, we actually need to convince someone to go from where they are and to make the jump to where you are. Okay? And how can we get someone through this continuum of being happy here to being happier with us? Okay? Now they may be really, really unhappy here, so they're looking for another role. But realistically, we're actually trying to get someone to move from where they are and where they're reasonably happy to where we believe they could be happier. All right? So now we need to start thinking, well, what are their problems? Now, the only way that we can really understand what the problems are of this person, right, is we need to be really, really specific. And when we're doing anything to do with marketing, and this is all marketing, right? When we're doing anything to do with marketing, we need to be specific. So in order to be absolutely specific to be able to market well, we need to go, well, who are we marketing to? So we can't say, and I'll use the example of Speechy here, right? We cannot go and say, I would like a Speechy to join my team with between 0 and 30 years of experience. It's not going to be very effective, right? And we might not say we want any type of Speechy. We may want a very, very particular type of Speechy. So in this example here, we might say, all right, I'm looking for someone who is in their new grad year. So what is it? 10th of July right now. So in their new grad year means they're 6 months in. So I'm looking for someone with less than 1 year's experience. So essentially a new grad. And we're looking for someone who's a Speechy. And I'm located, there's meant to be an E on there. And I'm located in the Gold Coast. So let's say I'm very specifically looking for someone who is in the Gold Coast. Just wipe this out and we'll move back over to this side. So now we've got a specific person that we're looking for. So let's chuck it up. Actually, that's going to ruin it, isn't it? We're going up and around. So if we go up here now, what are the problems of this person, right? So when we're looking at how can we actually convince this person to move from where they are now, because they're in a current role, to where we would like them to be with us, how do we do that? So we need to understand their problems. Now, if you can put yourself in their shoes, what would be the issues that they may be having in their first year? Well, you could look at, well, what was promised? Yeah, I'd say this is a reasonably common one. A lot of people, they promise the world when they're offering a job, but then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in, they're not able to deliver on those promises. So what I would do is I would actually go and look at, and this is a nice easy, easy way of doing it, is to look at the different job ads that are up and look at the promises people are making. And you can ask people if they're not being delivered on this promise. So promise, it could be around PD, right? It could be supervision. It could be the mentoring isn't up to scratch, it isn't what they were promised. It could also be, let's say, the clients, type of clients. So maybe they were promised a certain type of client, but they're not getting that. They've been given something completely different. That's not uncommon. What else? We could also have probably the caseload. That's another big one. Sometimes when new grads come out, they get given a caseload that is just way, way too high. It can be very stressful. It can be the reason a lot of people end up leaving the profession because they've just had so much thrown on them that they're like, I can't actually get through this and do this. So I hope you can see here as we're going through this, we're now looking at what are the problems of this very specific person. Very, very specific. And that's the key, specificity here. So I've gone through, we understand this person's problems, and we can understand, and again, remember what I said before, what are their perceived problems? So they're going to have problems, and the problems that we see, these are probably perceived problems actually. Perceived problems. The actual problems they're going to have are going to be around not being able to cope, it could be mental health issues, it could be not trusting themselves, it could be lack of confidence, and the perceived problems are probably around the caseload being too high, not getting enough mentoring, the clients aren't the right type of clients they thought they'll be getting, the supervision isn't what they were told, the PD, etc. So now when we're thinking about talking to these people and actually convincing them that, hey, we are the right place for you, well, now we can put this back into perspective and we can start to think about, all right, well, if I was going to market directly to these people, how can I talk to these pain points here? And you have to understand that you actually have to be really good at this. We can't, again, go and promise something we can't deliver. So you might go, well, in my business, at my clinic, where we add the most value, right? Because it's all about adding value. If you want to be successful, add the most value to your clients, to your team, to your referrers, to everyone. So if we're looking at adding the most value, pick maybe 3 areas. 3 areas that you are amazing at. And if you don't have 3 areas that you're amazing at, get amazing at those. Pick 3 that you're going to be amazing at. Now, you may go, mentoring. That's a huge strength of ours. The type of clientele we have coming through is a massive strength. Maybe that's something you've worked really hard to get a certain type of clientele coming through. And your, let's say your PD could be an unlimited PD budget, not dollar for dollar, but your external PD budget is there to support people to learn and grow in their first few years. So now what we're going to be doing, bringing those down here, is to think about how can we write something or create a video or create content that shows people the value that they would get if they were to be working with us around these particular areas. So what we're not doing is we're not just putting an ad out on, say, Seek and just saying, hi, come work with us. Right? We want to talk very directly to the pain points, to the things that we're really good at. Now, this doesn't mean you can't advertise on Seek. You can absolutely do this on Seek, and you could have a big focus on these 3 areas. Okay? So having a big focus on those 3 areas through a Seek ad is still going to be reasonably effective. But the issue you may find is, where does the traffic come from? And when we say traffic, that is, where do the ideal clients, where are these people, how are they finding you on Seek without first knowing about this? And the key to anything being very successful when we're talking marketing, and whether it's more clients, more team, we have to be thinking, where is that traffic going to come from? How do we drive traffic to our call to action? So once we've got our pain points, we understand what we're good at, so we can talk through aspirations. Now we need to understand traffic. Where are the traffic sources going to come from? Now, ones that I particularly like working with are Facebook and Instagram, driving traffic from Facebook and Instagram, talking about specific pain points. And you can do this on video, you can do this through images with text, whatever suits you best, whatever is playing to your genius. If you love being on camera, you're animated, you've got maybe some great movie making skills or filmmaking skills, or someone on your team does, then absolutely get on a video. Make sure you've got subtitles, but get on a video and explain what you do and how you do it. Show people the value that they're going to get. But maybe you're a great copywriter. Maybe you don't love being on camera, but you can write amazing copy. Think about how you can write that in a way that is compelling and explains what you do. The key to any traffic working, when we're talking social media and advertising through social media, coming back over here, is specificity. We want to make sure that we're being super specific for who we are marketing this to. Because when you market to everyone, you market to no one. So being specific is absolutely key. So specific marketing, understanding the problems, understanding the aspirations, where are you going to get the traffic sources from, and how do you market specifically to that? And then the key, the last key, is what is the call to action? So if I wipe this one down a little bit. The last part, and this is where a lot of us fall over, is, well then, what is our call to action? Now when I say call to action, it is what is the offer, what is the action that someone should be taking after the traffic has driven them somewhere to make some kind of decision. Now there's a continuum when we're thinking call to action. And let's call this a small call to action, and let's call this a large call to action. Now, a small call to action is a very small, maybe click on this, read this, watch this. That is a very, very small call to action, one of the smallest you can do. One of the largest call to actions would be purchase this, spend $10,000 on this. Okay, so very, very large call to action. So if we look at where applying for a job is for someone who is currently in a role, let's call that here on the continuum. So quite high down that. When we look at maybe come to a PD evening or come to a webinar that we're holding about our professional development or to learn something about a specific topic, that may be here. So what we want to be thinking about is along this continuum, where do we want to be sending people? Like, what do we want to be asking of people? Because the further we go towards the large call to action, the more it's going to cost us for every call to action that's going to be taken, and the harder, the more challenging it is going to be. The further we go this way to the small call to action, the easier it's going to be and the cheaper it's going to be to get people to make a decision and to take action, but it's not going to be as large an action. So in this one here, they may apply for the job and you'll have 3 applicants. It's amazing. Down here, you may have 50 people turn up to a PD webinar, but they don't necessarily want a job role with you. So it's understanding along that continuum, where is the best place to be sending people and asking people to take an action. And there's no right or wrong here. It's just understanding what for you that you think works best. Now in the current market, typically I see the smaller call to actions, so going down this way, is a more effective way to start a relationship. Because remember what we said before, value. Value is key. Now, if we can actually get someone to make a small decision here, and that person makes a small decision, whatever it may be, to download a PDF, to attend a webinar, to attend a PD event that we're running. It's a small decision. We're not necessarily asking them to make a buying decision or ask them to just apply for a job. What we're doing is we're actually starting to build a relationship here. And if this is a scale of 1 to 10, and let's say when they hit number 8, they apply for a job role. If we get someone here at a 3, we don't necessarily need them to jump straight to an 8. We can actually add value over time, and we can get them from a 3 to a 4. Maybe going to that event gets them from a 3 to a 4. And now that we have their details because they've attended that event, we can take them from a 4 to a 5 with some value add emails. And then maybe we hold another evening and they go from a 5 to a 6. And then maybe we add a little bit more value through the different emails, maybe through an online program, whatever it may be. But now they've gone from a 6 to a 7. And through more touch points, we can then take them from a 7 to an 8. And you can see in this example here, rather than trying to make someone make that large decision straight up, which we're finding very challenging, I'm sure you're finding the same, can we instead get people at a lower point on the continuum here so that we can move them slowly down to the point where they're like, no brainer. These guys have provided so much value. I would love to work with them. I see what they're about now. I understand their culture, I understand their team, I understand the promises that they make, the value that they deliver, and I would love to work with them. That's the process I would love you to be going through within your own clinic, is thinking, starting at the start, how can we add the most value? In order to add the most value, we need to solve the biggest problems. If it's clients you need, we need to figure out how do we solve their problems, which means we need to understand what their perceived problems are and solve their perceived problems to get them into the clinic to then solve their real problems. It's kind of like the Trojan horse, right? You're coming in and you might say, this is what we think you need, or you think you need, but this is what you actually need. But you can't actually help that person until they're there in front of you. And then with team members, it's the same thing, it's the same process. What are the problems you think they're having where they are right now? If we're going to convince someone to move, like we said, from where they are, and they may be happy, they may just go, I don't know if the grass is greener on the other side. It may be, it may not be. But to make them make that large decision to change where they're working, to move outside of their comfort zone. And for most people, changing a job role is moving outside your comfort zone. So getting your call to action right. You get that right by getting your problems and your perceived problems correct. And then thinking, rather than necessarily asking for a job application. That's terrible, I know. Can we get them somewhere lower on the continuum? And then over time, can we bring them up the continuum to where they make that decision to work with us? Now, if you've enjoyed this video, I would love if you could hit the subscribe button. We're going to be doing one of these videos every single week. Hit like, and if you have any ideas for content that you would like us to be making videos about, please leave a comment below and we'll get to them.